Welcome back to Doodling with Purpose, the internet's only free week-to-week hieroglyphic lessons, and congratulations for making it this far. I hope you honestly feel so good about yourself and this new skill set you've been developing, and now when you doodle, it's with purpose. All right, we're continuing through our bilateral sounds, meaning glyphs that make two consonant sounds, because remember there's no vowels in Ancient Egyptian. So what we're looking at here is a bundle of needles. And there have been some people that say it's pine needles, but there's no pine trees in Ancient Egypt. I checked. So yes, we're actually talking about like a sewing needle because they did have cloth and they did have textiles. So, just like the bolt of cloth, S sound. All right, so our bolt of needles is pretty easy. It's a square, well, actually technically a rectangle since two of the sides are longer, then with kind of a half question mark on the side. At least that's the way to best describe it. So this is pronounced is, like it is a bundle of needles. And don't forget to make those hash marks over the S to indicate which S this is. And that's sort of the whole point of this half of the class, is to add those marks. So remember, we have three S's, the S, the Z, and the SH, depending on the mark, the dash or the little V over it. And yes, the Z is like rose, S as rose. Some people say it's Z, but it really is an S that's pronounced in a Z way. All right, so let's look at a couple words that use this. And of course, you'll probably recognize the determinative of a man, and the fact that he has three stroke lines, count them under it, means we're dealing with a plural. So, going backwards from that and transliterating and translating, we have IS, we have our W chick, and our T. And again, the man, anytime there's a person at the end, that's always a determinative. So this is the word crew, like the crew of a boat or the crew of pyramid builders. Well, actually, those were probably slaves, but maybe slaves come in crews. Like a starship crew. Yeah, let's go with that. All right. So here is another word now using the bundle of needles in the middle of the word, and you could probably guess the meaning of this word just from the determinative. See if you can. So we know that it's a determinative at the end because it has those hash marks, making it plural. So that is not the hieroglyphic double consonant sound there of the reeds, but rather it's being used as a determinative to tell you what the word is. So we also have the echo effect with the double S and the double I. So you can eliminate the extra sounds. So you're just reading isw, iswa, ISW. And this is the word for reeds, because there are reeds at the end. See how easy hieroglyphics are? All right, another word, and we've encountered this one before in the first half of the class, a common word for a place. We know it's a place because it has a determinative of a building at the end. Anytime you see PR at the end, it's a determinative. And once again, we have our echo effect because we have a bilateral sound that is surrounded by single sounds, so we can cancel out the extra sounds. And this becomes the word is, tomb, as in like, the place where they bury mummies, if you've seen a Scooby-Doo adventure. All right, and you can see that you could obviously write the word is, tomb, with just the bundle of needles, or the bundle of needles with the determinative, but look at how that's not that pretty. And you might say, well, why is this all about looking pretty? Well, yes, the ancient Egyptians were very big into making their glyphs aesthetically pleasing. And if you write it with just the IS bundle of needles with the determinative of a building, it's not pretty. It's like you can't draw a perfect square or a rectangle around it. And that's exactly what this is all about. Egyptians liked all of their words to be in blocks, to be perfectly aligned. So that's why you can add in extra sounds. All right, now our next double consonant, and you may recall from the beginning of the class, here is the baby antelope. That is the pronounced IW, ew, like an ew. And you could think of that as like, there are actually baby animals called ewes, like baby sheep. But, or like, ew, it's a baby. I don't know. Either way, anytime you're drawing an animal, you're always going to start at the base of the neck. Once you've mastered this, well, it's much easier to draw. So from the base of the neck, for this particular animal, the baby antelope, we'll do the top of the head, around the body, skipping the tail, we'll come back to that, and then we're going to draw a little dip there, then the other leg going back, And now we'll go and add the tail facing down. We'll add the antlers. You can add a little ear if you want. And of course you can add the eye detail and the mouth detail as much or as little as you want. And there you have the baby antelope. Ew. So again, always start at the base of the neck no matter what animal, whether it's a hippo or a cat or a dragon. There were no dragons. Maybe they were. I don't know. All right. So if you repeat the baby antelope twice, which would be ew, ew, kind of one of my favorite words, this is the word for boatless. And obviously in a civilization that was built around the Nile River, if you were boatless, that was a really big deal because it basically meant you couldn't get anywhere. You know, it's like being in Los Angeles without a car. All right, so let's look at this word with the baby antelope because it's really interesting how you see the N water sign doubled here. So we have ew followed by N, and then as we've discussed, when you see the sign for PR for a house at the end, it means you're talking about a place. Now, this is actually going to be pronounced ew-n-n. Now, you may say, wait a minute, I thought you said when there's a double sound, it cancels it out. Well, that's only when the double sound comes from a triple or bilateral sound next to a single. If you have two single sounds next to each other, an N and an N, there is no cancellation because it's deliberate. Now, why would you deliberately put two sounds next to each other that are the exact same sound, or two glyphs next to each other? Well, as I noted earlier, Egyptians liked their words to look beautiful. And if you don't have that extra N, you get a weird lopsided shape. You don't get a perfect rectangle or cube, or what a lot of Egyptologists talk about is a block of letters. All right, another word that you can probably figure out the meaning based on the determinative. Which one's the determinative? Well, it's always at the end. And because you are seeing a glyph that you haven't recognized before, well, that's also why it's a determinative, because determinatives don't have sounds. They're just drawings of objects. And based on that, based on the determinative alone, and you could probably figure it out. Transliterating it, you can see again, we have our echo sound with SW against a W, so double sound to single, so you do cancel. And this is the word balance, or the noun scales, because that's what those are. Did I do a good job drawing them? Did you recognize what they were? All right, our last bilateral sound for today, and a very important religious one, this is the sound of ka, which is two arms raised to the sky, sort of like hallelujah. So ka is the word for spirit or energy or the force, if you will. It can be transliterated K with an A with the little apostrophe, or K with sort of what looks like a 3 with a smaller top. That's the way to write the ah sound. All right, so here is actually a group of words using ka. So again, we have N followed by Ka followed by another N. And that's because we're not looking at a word here, we're actually looking at a phrase. N, ka, n. And if you recall, the water sign N actually has quite a few meanings, I suppose, depending on where it is. It could be an ED in past tense, but in this case, N means usually for or of, and in this case it means both of them. And if you want to have a phrase, it becomes for the ka of, as opposed to of the ka for. That makes no sense. So yeah, using a little common sense and the different translations, you can figure that one out. All right, now last up today, you can probably figure this one out as well based on the determinative. See how easy hieroglyphics are? All you have to know is where the determinative is. Now, sometimes there's double determinatives in this word. Sometimes you get a picture of the animal and you also get the phallus beneath. And that's perfectly fine because there are double determinative words. And once you hit an animal like that, that's not a known sound, like the baby antelope, you know you're looking at a determinative, and anything following that is also. So this is the word for a bull, ka. So ka without the bull is spirit. Ka with a bull and a phallus, or just the bull, is a bull. Interesting, huh? All right. So using some of the words we've learned in today's vocabulary and some structure from previous lessons, here is your homework for this week. So transliterate it and then translate it, and we'll go through it glyph by glyph next week. And note that you have some stroke lines going straight up, not across horizontally. It happens for aesthetic reasons. All right, like this, share this. Thank you so much for joining us in class again. I will see you next week where we will continue our bilateral sounds on doodling with purpose. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the comment section.